medical staff, promotion opportunities, and improved working conditions.
Leo tuko kwenye mgomo kwa sababu matakwa ya madaktari ambayo tumekuwa tukiyazungumzia kwa takriban zaidi ya miaka 3 hayajatekelezwa na management ya MTRH. Kwa hivyo kuanzia saa 6 usiku mgomo wetu umeanza. Baadhi ya matakwa hayo ni mojawapo ikiwemo wale madaktari ambao wamekuwa employed on contractual terms. Hawa madaktari wanapoteza muda mwingi sana kufanya kazi hospitali. Hawezi jiendeleza kimaisha, hawezi chukua loan, hakuna pension wanalipa. Kwa hivyo wale madaktari zaidi ya 25 wale wote tunataka wawekwe PNP. Tunataka hizi pesa zote kwa mpigo. Sasa hivi tunazungumzia ushuru huko juu. Ule mfumo wa SHA na SHI haufanyi. Tunaona wagonjwa wetu pale tunahangaika nao. Kwa hivyo tukikuwa pale tunahangaika na hao wagonjwa wetu na ilhali hata sisi wenyewe maisha yetu hayaboreshwi.
Niko na kijana hapa alianguka na pikipiki. Nilileta wanataka kukata kidole. Sasa amemaliza wiki 2. Na nimefika madaktari wamekoma. Na hiyo kidole imeoza. Sasa nitafanya nini? Hakuna yenye nitafanya. Na mtoto ndio hiyo kidole inaoza. Hiyo kidole sasa mguu yote itaisha. Watakatia juu. Nitafanya nini mimi sina pesa? Nitapeleka wapi mtoto yangu? Mtoto wangu atakosa mguu.
Tumeenda mgomo kwa sababu management ya MTRH wameweza kutimiza zile demands zetu, na sio ndio new demands. In fact, sisi kama madaktari tunashangaa kwa nini management ya serikali inakubali tuende mgomo, kwa sababu yale mambo ambayo tunazungumzia si mambo mapya. Kwa mfano, mambo ya promotions, kupandisha daktari cheo. Ni daktari ni neurosurgeon, ameenda mpaka ka subspecialize, amekuwa a top neurosurgeon, amespecialize na ka subspecialize. Alafu kutoka 2022 huyo daktari anapewa promotion letter, lakini kupandishwa cheo kwa payslip hakuna. Kwa hivyo inamaanisha kwamba department ya HR kuna shida. Nini uajiri daktari kwa contract for 6 months na after 6 months unakosa kurenew na renew after another 6 months, na huyo daktari anaendelea kufanya kazi kwa contract kwa almost 5 years.
Right, that's what's happening there, and it's very unfortunate because the people are suffering, the ordinary mwananchis. And now there was a sad situation yesterday because the bodies of Justus Musimi and Martin Mwao, who went missing on the 17th of December and were found at a Nairobi funeral home. A postmortem examination conducted by government pathologist Dr. Richard Njoroge reveals that the 2 men died from multiple injuries, including chest, abdominal, and head injuries. Despite the findings, Dr. Njoroge confirmed that the bodies will not be released to the families until DNA tests are conducted to confirm their identities, citing decomposition as the reason for the delay. The families of the 2 men have urged the government to investigate the deaths and ensure that those responsible for the killings are brought to book.
We have finished the post-mortems, our findings. The first body, like I have mentioned, was very, very decomposed. But the main findings is there were multiple abdominal, chest, and head injuries. So, and we also have what we call defense injuries on the arms. So it looked like there was a struggle because, you know, when you try to defend yourself, you will get what we call defense injuries on the arms and the wrists. So that's the first body. The second body was also very decomposed. The main findings was scalp or head injuries. He also had a posterior abdominal wall, abdominal wall and thoracic injuries. Again, it was multiple injuries. The other main finding on the second body was injuries to the neck, and so the strap muscles of the neck. And so we came to the conclusion that the cause of death of the second body was manual neck compression.
May the Lord, and I believe the Lord will reveal and expose the people who committed the murders, and they may escape, maybe they may escape the judgment on earth. But definitely there's a king who sits on his throne, who sees all the works of men, and they will have to account for that. Now, President William Ruto has expressed confidence that his 30 years of experience in the political arena will secure him a second term in office, dismissing claims from his critics that he will serve only one term. Speaking in Mandera County on Wednesday during a meeting with the local elders during his second-day tour, President Ruto addressed concerns regarding his political future, stating that he is well prepared to face his opponent in the 2027 election.
Saa zingine nyinyi mnatishwa, sijui one term, sijui how many terms, sijui nini. That is not my concern. 2027, kwani 2027 itakuwa uchaguzi tofauti kuliko ile yote tumefanya? Kwani iko shida gani? Watu watulize boli, mambo ya 2027 tutakutana 2027. Mimi nimekuwa mjumbe miaka 15. Mimi nimekuwa naibu ya rais miaka 10. Ndio huyu mimi ni rais. Miaka itakuwa 5. Sasa mtu atanitisha na kitu gani? Ati nisikue nini? What is it that I have not become? Tunaelewana? So, hii mambo yako sijui nini, na kwanza hata shida ya wale wananitisha ni mtu ambaye hajawahi kuwa rais, ajui hata vile ya kukuwa rais inakuanga namna gani. Sasa wewe,
I already have this strong feeling that the Somali community in Kenya is going to play a major role in adding to the numbers that President Ruto is looking for. There's just something that I'm concerned about. Yesterday or the day before that, he said that he was going to remove the processes that are being going on to determine before the vetting that currently goes on before somebody is given an ID in those areas. Now, it is a well-known secret that quite a huge number of people in Eastleigh are not Kenyans, in the sense that they came into the country and they've bought the identity of the IDs because the chiefs, the police, we've been given a story of how people are coming from Somalia into Mandera, they cross, and there are a number of police checks before you get to the city, and around 50,000 shillings is given every time they get to the police station or those roadblocks. They give out this money, and when the people get to the city, they buy the identity cards, and they are basically adopted by certain families, and it said that so-and-so comes from this family, and then they are allowed to marry 4 wives, and so they will get maybe their sisters from Somali, bring them here, and then they marry 2 wives, they come with their wives, and so it is said after a while they divorce their sisters, and their sisters basically will be married off by somebody else, and thereby becoming, Kenyan citizens by marriage. So there's something that is happening, and we need to address it. These are things that need to be addressed, and by removing the vetting that is currently going on before you get an ID, then we are opening ourselves to a lot of things. I hope that many years to come will not remember this conversation that I'm saying right now and regret that we didn't do something. All right? Police Commander Adamson Bungei appeared in court yesterday to respond to charges in connection with the death of 29-year-old Rex Kanyike Masai, who was killed during widespread protest in June of the previous year. Masai died after allegedly being struck by a live bullet fired by a police officer during the violent demonstration that swept across the nation. In court, Bungei denied the accusation, asserting that police did not shoot Masai.
That time and moment was around 2:45 or 2:50 hours.
I received a call from then OSPD, that is Officer Commanding Police Station Central Division, that there was a report made by one of the attendants within the police hospital that there was somebody who was brought to the hospital and the same is succumbed to the injuries.
Was in charge of any deployment at that time?
We didn't have a specific deployment to mention that somebody was in charge. It was about a situation that was being responded to. And in police service, the operation or mode operandi depends on the situation.
20th, I was deployed to man the KCC gate, which is just opposite the governor's office. To me, those are criminals, they are not police officers, Your Honor.
You do not see any semblance to yourself?
Even to police officers, Your Honor.
Well, I must say, Bungei is very well spoken, and he gave a good account of himself yesterday in court. As to whether what he's saying is true or not, it's something else. That's a different conversation. But I must say, he knows how to speak well. It's been a long while since we got a police officer who could clearly express himself. Now, you remember this guy, Dende Nyoro? The chairperson of the National Assembly's Budget and Appropriation Committee has reiterated the committee's commitment to supporting the Office of the Auditor General in its effort to ensure public resources are utilized responsibly. Speaking in Mombasa, Nyoro emphasized the critical role of the Auditor General's office in overseeing the increasing government expenditure. Nyoro acknowledged that public trust in the government really relies heavily on the responsible management of public funds, stressing the necessity of safeguarding these resources to avoid misuse.
Article 2298 says that I audit. First of all, 7 says audit reports to be submitted to Parliament or the relevant county assembly. Then 2298, which is the last article on audit and accountability, says within 3 months after receiving an audit report, Parliament or County Assembly shall debate and consider the report and take appropriate action. Take appropriate action is in your hands. Sanctioning these people, requiring action, requiring implementation of recommendations, it is in your hands. It is in your purview. So, Honorable Chair, that will always be my challenge to you, even as you challenge me back on whether I'm impactful. I can only be impactful if Parliament takes my reports and makes decisions on them and requires action on them. Outsourcing of the low risk and small clients will allow the office to optimally apply our audit staff to the high risk clients, which will enhance effectiveness in the delivery of our mandate. It will also ensure that audit reports for all entities are submitted to Parliament and county assemblies in time, because we shall be working concurrently with the outsourced teams under my supervision. However, we want to outsource 500 audits, meaning that we have a deficit of about 150 million Kenya shillings. And we'll appeal to the committee to allocate us these additional funds purely for outsourcing under supplementary 2 when you start the discussions to facilitate this outsourcing to undertake the low risk audits.
Without the proper role that the office plays, then we could not optimize on the resources that we appropriate. And that is why we continually want to support the office in all matters, including budgetary allocations, so that the office continues to be strengthened to deal with the ever-rising expenditure of government, so that whatever coin that is spent in terms of public resources can be traced even to its utility, so that as Kenyans continue to play a critical role in supporting public service through contributions in many ways, that we do our best to give value for money.
Dede Nyoro. He's one of the guys that, you know, political pundits say he's targeted for removal from that position because he seems to have changed his allegiance. You won't see him with the deputy former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Neither will you see him at President William Ruto's function. He's just operating. He just went quiet. He's now just doing his work. And they say it's like he's changed his allegiance. When the Deputy President, Kithure Kindiki, had gone to Murang'a, Ndindi Nyoro did not attend his function. And Kindiki was so cross and angry and literally termed him, saying that, you know, Ndindi Nyoro is not any different from a chief. So it's politics, right? Senate has accused the executive of intentionally withholding funding to undermine its operations, particularly in fulfilling its constitutional oversight role. The move has prompted senators to threaten defiance against laws requiring both the National Assembly and Senate approval, raising concerns about potential constitutional crisis in the coming days. The accusation emerged during a 3-day midterm assessment retreat for senators held at Enashipai Spa in Naivasha. Deputy Minority Leader Enoch Wambua strongly criticized the Parliamentary Service Commission for siding with the National Assembly at the expense of the Senate, resulting in financial crisis within the institution.
But more fundamentally, we have a serious challenge when it comes to the funding of the Senate. We as senators strongly believe and hold the view that the Senate is deliberately being denied funding for the sole purpose of weakening the institution. Be told, and I have the advantage that I was in the Senate in the last Parliament. We never got anywhere near where we are today. There is a unit in the PSC called Joint Services, a unit that, in all honesty, is taking so much money from the parliamentary budget to undertake purely administrative roles at the expense of funding the core function of one arm of the legislature called the Senate. And so this matter has become worse under this administration. In the previous administration, it wasn't like this. And as we are saying, we shall confront it for whatever it is. I thank you. The matter of abductions is a very, very serious issue. I have gone on record many times. I want to go on record once again and tell the president that the buck stops with him. That's where the buck stops. The first responsibility of any government in the community of civilized states is to ensure the security of its citizens. If a government, for whatever reason, is either unwilling or unable to provide security to its citizens, then that government has no business being in office.
Now, there's a gentleman who passed on. His name is the Aga Khan. You know, he's basically the spiritual leader of the Ismaili Muslims. And this man, because, and that's the reason why, allow me to say this, the church needs to come to a point whereby it controls resources, so that the church controls resources, and if it controls resources, the church will be able to control policy, it will be able to control everything. This gentleman, the Aga Khan, passed away at the age of 88. His death was announced by the Aga Khan Development Network, his charitable organization. Prince Karim Aga Khan, who served as the 49th Imam of the Ismaili Muslim community, died in Lisbon, Portugal, surrounded by his family. He was born in Sweden, but held British citizenship and resided in his palace in France. Aga Khan will be remembered for his significant contribution to humanitarian efforts, particularly through the Aga Khan Development Network, which operates hundreds of hospitals, educational projects, and religious initiatives worldwide. His impact was deeply felt in both religious and development circles as he dedicated his life to improving the lives of millions in various sectors, including healthcare, education, and economic development. In addition to his philanthropic work, Aga Khan was the founder of Nation Media Group. So basically what we're saying is this gentleman would come into the country and the first point of stop would be State House. He was being treated like head of state because of the kind of resources he controls. Now, I am one person who believes that the church needs to control resources in the country. Forget this receive what that is happening. Let's literally control the resources. Jesus told us to occupy till he comes. Because once the church is able to control resources and become so united, then the voice of the church will be heard and heard very loudly. Until that time comes, we'll be just called to pray. And then when the rest are going to talk about policies, we are sent to go and take tea. I refuse that. Anyway, Kenya's Chief Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has sought to reassure the public that Kenya's peacekeeping mission in Haiti will not be disrupted despite the recent decision by the United States to suspend funding. Mudavadi emphasized that the mission, which is part of a broader international peacekeeping effort, receives financial support from several countries, and thus it will continue as planned. Speaking to the press, Mudavadi addressed concerns about the sustainability of Kenya's involvement in maintaining peace in Haiti, stating that the peacekeeping operation is well-funded and that alternative sources of financial support have already been secured. He assured that the activities of the Kenyan security forces in Haiti would proceed without interruption.
The process is on. We will do. I have to admit that we will do better if the resources were even more. But that does not mean that as things stand, the Haiti mission has come to stand.
The UN Trust Fund for Haiti is a fund that supports the multinational security support MSS mission in Haiti, as established in October 2023 by the UNSCR Resolution 2699, that's the UN Security Council Resolution 2699, and it is a Kenyan-led mission which has police deployments from not just Kenya but Guatemala, Jamaica, El Salvador, Bahamas, and Belize, among others. As at the end of 2024, US dollars 110.3 million had been pledged by several countries, including the USA, Canada, France, Turkey, Spain, Italy, and Algeria, of which $85 million has been received by the fund, including substantial amounts from the United States. So you can see there's only a difference of about 25 million US dollars. These are disbursed US contributions to the trust fund is only about 15 million US dollars. So you still have another $10 million from other countries. And this is what has been proposed as by the presidential directive for President Donald Trump. However, it's good to state very clearly that the fund has sufficient resources to continue underwriting the mission until the end of September 2025. So there is no crisis. The transition of the mission to full UN mission to ensure financial sustainability is a key priority to which Kenya and all partners are committed. So it's very, very clear. We don't have a crisis. The US has only posted about 15 million US dollars, and yet we already have 85 million US dollars. And so we'll be also talking to other countries to ensure that whatever deficit that there is, as at now, shall be met before September, because we can go up to September to fulfill the obligations of this mission to Haiti. So there is no cause for worry, and we remain confident and hopeful that we shall continue even to engage other countries, including the US itself, to see the importance of ensuring that this mission
right, let's check what's happening in the dailies. We got the Star, Standard, and the Daily Nation. And we start off with the Star. It says U.S. aid exit spells doom for Kenyan jobs and funding. U.S. aid, basically, U.S. President Donald Trump basically stopped funding of UN aid projects. And what is happening is that quite a number of staff that are under projects that are funded by US aid have been sent on compulsory leave, meaning that there's a great possibility they are going to lose their money. They are going to lose their jobs because now the funding has been stopped by Donald Trump. You can remember also yesterday he signed an executive order stopping U.S. participation in the United Nations Human Rights Council, and he pulled the U.S. out of that council, and other UN bodies like UNESCO, UNHCR, all that. He's pulled the United States out of that. Now, the United States is one of the major funders of these projects and these arms of the United Nations. So that is going to mean a lot of loss of jobs. And one of the reasons, and to some extent, as the US president, you might understand where he's coming from. He says the US has been funding some of these bodies, like the human rights bodies, and then they end up coming up with reports condemning the United States. The wise people say you don't bite the arm that feeds you. And because they've done that, he's saying we cannot be funding an organization that is literally just working against us and funding activities against what we stand for. So I guess a lot of things are going to happen. He stopped funding, the medical aspects of Kenya because of the corruption at KEMSA. So we cannot blame him for that. So, unfortunately, quite a number of Kenyans are going to lose their jobs because of this. Quite a number of people. The back page, mistreated senators decry bias at midterm retreat. Then we have ODM twin meeting in Western to counter UDA. And then billionaire Ishmael, spiritual leader, Aga Khan dies at 88. Then you have the queries of multiple secret bursary kitties. And then there is President Trump ends 60 years of aid abruptly, US aid exit to cost lives and jobs. In Kenya, the number of jobs that might be lost, let me confirm for you here. Okay, this is weird. In Uganda, they say 14,000, Tanzania 15,000, Nigeria 11,000, Zimbabwe 10,000, and I know Kenya is higher than this because I'll get the figures for you, don't worry. Then Living the Dream, that's the back page of the Star. The 4.5-year deal is worth, who is this? Harambee Stars prolific midfielder Timothy Ouma has pledged to assert authority on the international stage following a lash deal he penned over the weekend. He embarked on, he's leaped from the Swedish side Ellisvåg to Czech behemoth Slavia Prague. Hey, the deal is worth 473 ma. The Standard, this is a very interesting picture. It has the picture of the President William Ruto. It says, see no evil, hear no evil. They claim this is the policy he's operating under. Amid unresolved cases of abduction and killings, a crumbling justice system, confusion in education, and a healthcare crisis, President William Ruto, like the proverbial ostrich, has decided to bury his head in the sand. The second page, school stare at cash crisis after repeat candidate exam suspended. Oh my word. Aki, there's a lot of confusion. They said it was going to happen, now it's been suspended. There's a lot of confusion in the education sector. I don't know how it's like a knee-jerk reaction. It's unfortunate. There are lives of people, there are people who had planned, students who had planned to resit their exams during that period because the government had given its word. Now, when the word from the government becomes, unreliable, the way it's become unreliable, and mostly so in the education sector like this, it doesn't do justice to a lot of people. Then Treasury Miles, use of donkey, camels to slash transport cost. The government is now looking to use traditional transport methods to reduce expenditure amid soaring fuel costs, currently totaling. What are they saying? They are going to transport things using donkeys. Oh my goodness. Are they for real? The viability of increasing donkeys, camels, horses, and electric vehicles into its fleet as part of austerity measures. These guys are kidding us. Ruto's defiance amid abduction, shark crisis, and poor economy. Now, this is the thing this is very controversial. And this has everything to do with the 2027 politics, election. President ends vetting for ID registration in border counties. This smells from here to Timbuktu. It really stinks. This is a way of getting votes. From where? Your guess is as good as mine. And we're going to see an influx of quite a number of illegal aliens coming into the country. They're already buying IDs as it is. Chiefs have become the most corrupt human beings in this world, selling the inheritance of the country, of the people of Kenya, to foreigners. And you have foreigners who have Kenyan IDs now. And that gives them the rights that Kenyans are supposed to have. Some of these people have messed up their countries and now they've come here. It will not be long until they mess up this country. Mark my words. This is very controversial. Uhuru's push for one opposition coalition for 2027 presidential race. Then you have the story of the Aga Khan. For Ronaldo, who's 40, life has just begun. I think Ronaldo says, I think I'm the most complete player to have existed. In my opinion, I think it's me. I do everything well in football. Then The Nation has a full page of their founder, the Aga Khan, from 1936 to 2025. A lot of the stories here are going to feature him, understandably so. So from the first page to the 6th page, actually to the 7th page, I think to the 8th page is about Aga Khan, actually to the 9th page. Okay. Then the back page, Kenya puts on brave face after US-Haiti budget cut. New bill seeks to give top public referral hospitals a sound legal grounding. Let me revisit this story. The issue of lifting the vetting at the border points for IDs. It is a wrong move, if you ask me. It is a wrong move because it is going to see an influx of illegal aliens into our country. Already there are areas where people are coming into the country and they are being assimilated by their relatives here. Take for instance, if I come from Murang'a and I go to Kakamega, I just go there, and one family in Kakamega says that I am one of their sons. And so when I go to the chief, who has already been bribed, he just finds a way of putting my name into the family tree of this family in Kakamega, and I'm given a name, their name, so that when I get to taking my ID, I get my ID, then shortly afterwards, I get my people, like two of my sisters from Central, I bring them and pretend that I've married multiple wives, have them in my house, and then because I'm allowed to marry more wives, I'll bring two more. These are my, I'll now marry, legit wives, and then I will divorce my sisters because there's a process outside the court system that is allowed to handle this. I'll divorce my sisters and they will be married by other people in Kenya, and they will become citizens of Kenya by marriage, and then they'll give birth, and before you know it, an entire central Kenya has already invaded western Kenya. You know what I'm saying? Let those who have ears to hear know what is happening. And we need to raise a lot of concerns about this. You'll see. Right, do have yourself a lovely morning. Remember at 9 a.m. we're going to have Your Faith. It's going to be by Reverend Kavoy, and a lot of praying is going to be done, by the way. So if you're going through situations and you'd like people to agree with you on whatever issue it is, go right ahead and do that. And then we'll have Manukato at 2 p.m. with the Teddy and DJ show. Great music and interviews with pastors and artists. You don't want to miss that. You? I don't think so. Okay. Tune in and do have yourself a lovely morning.